prepare to celebrate the Day of Love, we want to encourage you to grab this meaningful and delicious gift. Don't just buy a gift to buy a gift. Get them this gift that sets the stage for all 5 love languages. Let us take it from here. Not only do you get some of their favorite things, chocolate and coffee, but we set the atmosphere for you. Let's get honest. This year has been a tough one, but here's the deal. Some of the most important things are still right in front of us. So here's what you can expect in your box. Our recovery coffee. It's a medium roast from our friends in Colombia with delicious tasting notes that are chocolatey, nutty, and caramely. And when you pair it with our double shot of dark chocolate with infused espresso from our friends at Chocolate Therapist, you will see why these 2 products make each other better together. And finally, we'll throw in a reflection, tasting, connection guide into your box that we customize just for you. We guide you through a brief reflection of love, provide coffee and chocolate tasting steps, and connection points that we know will inspire a loving space that is rooted in gratitude for the other. We do have a limited supply, so grab yours today and let us help you set a meaningful atmosphere of love and gratitude this Valentine's Day.
WagonCoffeeRoasters.com. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm so glad you're with us tonight. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. Good to be with you on another Saturday evening. Now, what we like to do here, first, if you're new with us, I need to tell you, we are, what's up, everybody? We are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. That's what this community is about. So I'm glad you're here. If you want to share this and you're on Facebook, I encourage you to hit the share button and share this with your friends as we kick off our new series called Selfless. And we're going to have fun with this series. Noelle is our storyteller tonight. She'll be with us in just a moment. Like a few moments. I shouldn't say just a moment. A few moments. A couple of things you all need to know, though. Some exciting things happening. Next week, we have been on quite a hiatus, if I can use that word. That's a fun word to say. Next week, we are reopening for a limited number of people. And here's the deal. To come, sign up. The sign-ups will go out on Monday mornings. So go to our website, freespiritualcommunity.com. You can sign up there. We're going to open up this space for a limited amount of people. We're going to get back to, can I dare say, get back to a little bit of normalcy? We're going to get back to as normal as we can be. The coffee is going to be flowing. The energy is going to be flowing. The good vibes. It's going to be good. But sign up. It's for a limited amount of people to come hang out here, be live on Saturday nights. We would love to have you here. And listen, y'all, we're still going to do our virtual thing. That's not going anywhere. Even when we open back up fully, we're still going to be virtual because we know we have, I was just reading through some comments, we have people joining us tonight from New Mexico. What other states? Texas. I know we have North Carolina, Florida, almost all of the states. Someone can correct me on that. Many states, I should say.
And New Zealand, too.
And New Zealand. And 45 countries. We have followers of Free in 45 different countries, translated in 20 different languages. How cool is that? So we're not going to leave y'all behind. We love y'all. We care about you. We're not leaving you. Listen, the other thing we're going to do is, some of you were around when we created the home team. We are you home team people. Some of you are, I know you're watching right now. You home team people, we're re-engaging you starting next week to get back in a rhythm. So Saman is our home team lead. She's going to come and share a few words about home team and what we need out of you. But before she comes forward, I want you all to check out this video. It's a little short 2-minute video on why we created home team. Take a look.
I am absolutely convinced when it comes to our lives, God wants our lives to be about serving others. One reason why so many people are miserable today is because they've missed the point of life. In my experience, as we serve others, our own needs are met, and as we give our lives away, we find them. You were created to love and serve other people. In fact, if you're not serving somewhere, you are totally missing out. You see, Jesus talked about leadership all the time. In Matthew's gospel, Jesus described leaders as servants. He said, whoever wants to become great must become a servant. He said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. We have to find some humility, and the way to do that is by serving other people.
We created Home Team because we know we have people in our community who want to discover their true purpose and calling. We are all uniquely wired with spiritual gifts, and it's critical to fulfill our mission by serving within those gifts. This means we will take on new challenges and step out of our comfort zones. We call these people servant leaders.
As your pastor, my job is to remind you who you are, who God created you to be, to inspire and empower you to take new steps in faith, and I take this responsibility seriously. And at Free, we know we have people who want to do more, and we're creating space for others to grow. And there's a place in the New Testament where the author reminds us that our lives hold a great deal of meaning, and God intends for us to spend our lives helping other people. You see, what we do with our lives matters. Leadership isn't about getting other people to serve your interest. It is about serving the best interest of others.
And the way we love and serve God is by serving other people. Ministry and passion start with an understanding and embracing of the way God has wired you. What are you passionate about? And where is God calling you? We want to encourage you to step up and become a servant leader within our community. As an addict, loved one of an addict, or spiritual refugee, your life experiences qualify you to help those who are lost find home.
We were created to serve others.
Serving helps us find purpose.
We serve God by serving others.
And it makes life meaningful.
All right, y'all. A little home team video, which goes perfectly, by the way, with our new series that we're starting tonight called Selfless. Tell us about home team.
Yeah. Okay. So did you watch that video? Did you really watch that? The way to do that is by serving other people. That's powerful, right? So yeah, we're going to start re-engaging with the home team. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. So this Wednesday at 6 o'clock, right here at Free, anybody who wants to serve in any way, please come. Kids are allowed, bring whoever, but you know, it takes a village to run this place, and we're going to need some help once we open up. Even if it's just limited, we certainly need people. So we're going to do pizza here Wednesday at 6. Please come. We're going to go through, like, you know, what's required, what you might, you know, want to do, and get a sign up going so we can start like really getting people engaged and have people welcoming the newcomers that come in here each week. I think my email is going to be put up. If you have an interest in coming on Wednesday, please shoot me an email. If you're on Facebook, well, you probably are. Message me there if you can't get the email, and we would love to see you all on Wednesday.
Awesome. And we just want to re-engage y'all and get you plugged back in to serve in this community. Thank you, Saman. Don't leave anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Saman recorded. We've got this series going of letters to your addiction. And this series has been powerful. To hear people, I don't know what the right word is, overcome, to hear people write a letter to their past and present and future all at once.
Yeah.
So powerful stuff. This letter is really, really powerful. I say it almost every week, but you might need a Kleenex.
You will need a Kleenex.
You might need a Kleenex. Thank you, Saman, for doing it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say any more because I just want you all to check out this video, Letter to Your Addiction by Saman.
Good stuff. My name is Saman, and I've been sober since February 5th, 2017. This is a letter to my addiction. Dear addiction, looking back on my life, I now realize that you were always there, waiting for the right time to take me down. You were gradual and sly, persistent and nagging, but you took your time. You waited until you could see that I was trapped, broken, vulnerable, lost, and desolate. I didn't realize you were knocking at my door until it was too late. I had opened up that door for you and you came charging in. And take me down you did. But you didn't just take me, you took my family with you too. You wreaked havoc in my life. You threw me into a world of lies, deception, isolation, and exhaustion. You turned me into a mother who endangered her children, a wife that her husband and family were embarrassed by, and a person they began to hate. You turned me into a woman who, when she woke up each morning with the horror of not remembering anything from the night before, was reaching again for that bottle. To forget, to numb, to drown. You turned me into a broken shell of a person. You turned me into a woman who was so filled with despair that I thought it would be best for everyone if I just ended my life. It would have been easy, and you almost convinced me that one night to turn the wheel and take my car off the mountainside. But what you did not know through all this is that you gave me a gift, the gift of desperation. What you didn't know is that I had a God who had been watching over me. And to be honest, I didn't know that either. Until one night, filled with despair, desolation, and pain, so much pain, I cried out into my empty bedroom, "Please help me, I can't do this anymore." That was the beginning of the end of the grip you had on me. I was propelled that last week to seek help from people who were the experts and people who had walked this path before me. I did the work, and I built a solid foundation for the beautiful life that I live today. I want you to know that I'm eternally grateful for you. Because of you, I was able to acquire tools. And with these tools, I realized that I was and had been in the wrong place for quite a while. Thank you. Because of you, today I am free. Today I live a life more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. Today I walk this journey with others you also tried to take down. Together, we are powerful. We have the tools to keep you at bay. I know that you will never be gone, that you are watching, waiting. That's okay. Today I'm an honest woman, a kind woman, a loving woman. I have integrity, morals, and values. I am a mother who is loved again. I am a friend and a good human being. Today I live a life of service, and I have community. I do the work. I know that if I live my life this way, there isn't much chance of you penetrating that. Today I know the truth, that I am a beautiful child of God. Signed, forever grateful, Simone.
So beautiful, Simone. Thank you for that letter. Y'all know what I love about this community. You know, lots of faith communities, church communities talk about, oh yeah, God does new life. God does new life. We talk about that new life stuff. And here we actually get to see new life on the daily, and we get to celebrate that. And it comes with hard stuff, and it comes with good stuff. Simone, what an example of new life you are. Thank you for sharing that with us. Y'all, we can clap for that. We will be launching that letter to your addiction, Simone's letter, on Wednesday on social media. And I encourage you to share it with your friends, because you never know who you're going to speak hope into, how God's going to use that video to speak hope into someone's life, and again, to people who are barely hanging on. So that'll come out on Wednesday. Hey, the way we start around here at Free is with celebrations. We start with the good stuff. We don't ignore the hard stuff. We save it for the end, though. We start with the joy in life, the good things, the new life. That's what we start with, the new life. New babies, new jobs, new tattoos, new, whatever it is. I mean, we just celebrate it all. So I want y'all to take a couple of minutes, get vulnerable in this community, let this community into to the goodness. And we want to celebrate it with you. And we believe here that God celebrates these things with us. God is rejoicing with us. God is we're lifting all of these things up to God. So give us the good stuff and take 2 minutes, put them in the comments. I know it can feel a little creepy to put your good news in the comments. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing for heartache, so at the end, so stick with us. Put them in the comments, and we'll come right back and celebrate together. Take 2 minutes.
is I just smile and say, follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. People ask me what my secret is. I just smile and say, live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. The sun came up and I gotta say, see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Ask me what my secret is. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Ask me what my secret is. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's other stuff here. It'll come in the comments. All right, welcome back, everybody. This one. That one. This one. All right, guys, I got Tammy with me. She's in the house tonight. You want to kick things off, Tammy?
I sure will.
We missed you last week, by the way.
Thank you. I'm just looking at my kids that are back there with Danny, and I'm a little scared. Okay.
Mike. Oh, you need your mic on.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Hi.
All right. There's one of them right there.
Yeah. Hello. Hey, Matt. He says 6 days, God willing, and I'm back at 90 days.
All
So
right,
good,
Matt. Matt's on our tech team here. Matt, we're celebrating that with you. 90 days is big. 6 days, God willing. Oh, and I'm back at 90 days.
Yes.
Cool. So good to have you here, Matt. Let's have another one, shall we? Deb Ward. She says, hey, Rev. We got clear scans after 1 year from last treatment. We heard our four most favorite words, no evidence of disease. Matt and Deb, very, very thankful. We are celebrating
Yes,
that with
we
you,
are.
Matt and Deb. Thank
for
you for
sharing
sharing that
that.
with us. Such good news.
Good to have you guys. Hey, Amanda. She says celebrating my new sober family at Free. Glad to be here with you all. Yeah.
And we're
Thanks,
glad you're here, Amanda. On the YouTube as well. All right. Brian says, a good friend of mine passed away this week. I did see that, Brian. I post this here in celebrations in order to celebrate her life here on earth as well as her new life with God in heaven. She's a beautiful soul. So, thank you for lifting her up. Brian, lifting you up, your friend. We're going to celebrate that with you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Aw, that's nice.
That's my aunt,
Yeah.
Carla.
Carla. He's kind of partial to you too, Carla. She says, my nephew is making a difference. Yes, he is. That's all.
Thank you, Carla.
Yeah.
It was good to see you this week. Some of you know we were back in St. Louis for my grandma's funeral. That was on Thursday. And so, but it was still good to see you, Carla. Thank you for your kind words.
See you.
Oh, is this me? Yeah. Monica says, and Monica's coming to us all the way from New Mexico, I believe. I think I
that's
saw
right.
that earlier. Monica, celebrating my new commitment to my Lord and Savior. Monica, we're celebrating that with you. Thank you for sharing good news with us tonight. So glad you're part of this community.
So, yes, thank you. From Saxon, my daughter Lily is going to be starting preschool in February, and my mom's birthday was on the 28th. Very good.
All
yes,
right,
that's great.
Saxon, we're celebrating that with you. Danielle says, I want to celebrate my friend Nancy. She has 17 days of sobriety today. Keep going,
Love
Nancy.
it.
Celebrating that with you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Danielle.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Christy. February 2nd, Christy and I celebrate 6 years together. Love her more today, but not more than tomorrow. We love you guys,
beautiful.
too.
So glad y'all are part of this community. Celebrating that with you. Tina says, So glad to have this community. Also saw a friend in real life today. In real life. We all know what that means, don't we? First time in ages.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. All right, we're celebrating that with you, Tina. Thank you for
Good
sharing
stuff,
that
Tina.
with us. So glad you're part of this community. Shall we do one more? Let's do one more.
Hey, Kay, she says my quadruplet grandkids just turned 3. Born 2 months early. They are all thriving.
God bless
Yeah.
you. Celebrating that with you, Kay. Hey, listen, if y'all have more good news to share, you can drop comments in all night long. You can do it all week long, and literally thousands of people will be celebrating with you. So we love to do that around here, and something profound happens when we celebrate together. So keep them coming tonight. Throughout the week, you can drop them in, and we'll do that together. Thank you, Tammy, for being here. All right, y'all, we are going to kick off our new series, as I mentioned before. This series is called Selfless. What does it mean to live a life that shifts from being selfish and self-centered into a life of selflessness? Here's a little video. Take a look. So I want y'all to take a moment and reflect. Who are the most selfless people in your life? Who are the ones who are constantly looking out for others, serving others? Who are the ones who are consistently giving of themselves, not in unhealthy ways that are lacking of boundaries, but in ways that are centering and grounding? Who are your role models when it comes to selfless living? So it was a few years ago now that I received an email from a man by the name of Scott Bemis. I didn't know him well at the time. We had done one event together. He organized an event at the Canyon City Maximum Security Prison, and I was part of that event. I was brought in as one of the speakers. And shortly after that event, he started attending the church where I was serving as one of the pastors. And his email was really simple. It said, "Can we do lunch next week?" Now here's the thing. This was during a time in church life where I was serving. It was kind of a chaotic time. It was a messy time. There was a lot of changes happening. And so I was receiving emails from people who needed to vent. They needed to voice some of their frustration with some of the changes. And sometimes as a pastor, your job is to sit with people and listen to their unhappiness and try to be present with them. And so when he emailed me that week, I was certain that Scott was reaching out to me because he was unhappy about something in particular that I had done, because that's how shame acts. That shame says this is about you. It also turns to self-centeredness. And so I was certain he was going to lay into me. He was going to vent to me. He needed to let me know that he was unhappy about something. And so I reluctantly responded to his email and said, "Sure, Scott, I would love to meet." So the following Thursday, we met up at the Mod Market in Highlands Ranch, right there on Broadway and Highlands Ranch Parkway. And when I got out of the car to go in, I was certain that I knew exactly what to expect, exactly how the conversation was going to go. We were eating our lunch. And you know what I remember? Scott was kind and compassionate. He asked me good questions about my life. He in turn shared his life with me in ways that were very open and vulnerable and honest. And man, towards the end of our lunch together, I was near tears, which I'm sure was a bit creepy for him because he's probably thinking, what's he doing, about to cry at lunch? And I said to Scott, I said, man, you don't know what this lunch has meant to me. And he said, really, why is that? And I said, man, I was sure because of where my heart and head have been recently. I was sure that we were meeting to have lunch and you were going to lay into me and tell me that you were unhappy with me about something. And he looked at me, he kind of cocked his head and he said, man, I'm sorry you've carried around that burden for these past couple of days. And then he said, I just want to be your friend and I want to be in your life for a long time. And I can't tell y'all what those words meant to me. Years later, this man is still, by the way, he has become a very dear, dear friend to me. And years later, I remember those exact words. And see, I point that out because it's the way he lives. It's the way he lives his life that he is constantly serving others and lifting others up, putting others before himself. He's always looking for the best in people. It's this way of life that he lives that is a life that is devoid of fear and self-seeking motives. And I think it's because somewhere along the way he picked up one of the keys to life, and it's this: that the key to real life is to live life in such a way that pours life into the lives of others. It's how he lives. And see, a selfless life will always ask the question, how am I making others feel? And I can hear some of y'all right now. You're saying, wait a minute, Ryan, come on now. That's not the most important question. The most important question I can ask is, how am I bringing truth to people? How am I making people see it my way? How am I letting people know that they're on the wrong path? And how am I getting people to see that I'm right and they're wrong? And y'all can keep trying that way. Report back to us in 90 days and let us know how it's working out for you. The truth is, a selfless life will always ask the question, how am I making others feel? It was the great American poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. Remember what she famously said? She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Who, my brothers and sisters, who are your role models when it comes to selfless living? And if you're comfortable with it, tag them in the comments. Tag them. Let them know what they've meant to you. Let them know that they've been a role model in your life. Let them know that they've showed you a better way. They've demonstrated a better way. Tag them. It might seem a little awkward and weird, but I promise you they're going to appreciate it. They're not going to think it's creepy. They're going to appreciate it. Tell them what they have meant to you. You see, in January, because it is still January, we've got even one day left in January. Early in January, some of y'all, you made resolutions. Even in the midst of COVID-19. In fact, on the heels of 2020, some of y'all said, this is 2021, this is my year, and this year I am sticking to those resolutions. And the truth is they already faded, didn't they? I mean, research tells us that they have already faded last week. Someone's shaking their head. You held on to your resolutions? Don't tell us that. You're making us look bad. For most of you, the resolutions have faded. And the other truth is, if we're honest, most of the resolutions we made, they were self-centered in nature, weren't they? And I don't say that to bring up any guilt or shame. It's just the nature of the project. It's the way it is. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. You said, all right, this year, 2021, it's my year. I'm going to lose weight this year. I'm gonna get to the gym more this year. This year am going to make more money. I'm going to save more. I'm going to have less debt this year. And then what you did is you started to invite God in. God, this is what I want to do with my life, and I'm sure you are going to help me get there. And sometimes I think God is like, are you freaking serious? You just treat me like I'm some sort of vending machine. You come and push the buttons, and if you push the right buttons, then the product drops down and you reach in and grab and it's all yours for the taking. And then what happens, y'all, and you know it's true, when things don't go the way you wanted them to go, when things don't go the way you hoped, the way you planned, Well, you just give up on God. I mean, how often have you heard that? Yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. For those of you in recovery, maybe you said that, or how many people do you know that have said that? Yeah, I tried the spiritual path. It didn't work for me. I couldn't stop picking up the drink, or I couldn't stop sticking the needle in my arm. I tried that. I invited God in and it didn't work. I asked for more money and I didn't get it. I asked for a soulmate and I'm still single. And I asked for God to make me thinner and richer and happier. And instead I'm just a little bit fatter. I'm a little bit poorer and I'm still kind of grumpy. Life doesn't go how we want, so we blame God. And listen, God is better than a vending machine. God is definitely not your sugar daddy. God's better than that. Some of y'all have asked God for so many things, but you never stopped to quiet yourself enough to ask God the question, God, what do you want to do with my life? When it comes to my life, what do you want to do of my life? And see, the truth is, selfless living will always be countercultural. It will always take practice, and it will always be a primary key to real life. And see, one of the things I love about Jesus is Jesus was always showing and demonstrating this way to the people around him. Because Jesus, the thing about him is he was constantly seeing the things that we so often miss. He was constantly seeing the things that were happening just beneath the surface. So there's this beautiful story in Mark's gospel, in the New Testament. Mark's the first gospel. There's this beautiful story. It's found in chapter 14, and we've looked at this story before here, but I want to revisit it. We could spend weeks in this story because it is packed and loaded. It's a story about Jesus and this woman and some of these disciples. And keep in mind, disciples are the people who were following Jesus. They were the closest people to Jesus. And the backstory here is, because we're just going to read verses 3 through 9. But the backstory of those first two verses is the religious and political leaders of the day, they were gathered together to begin their plotting of killing Jesus. Because Jesus has become a threat to the Roman Empire. He's become a religious threat, a political threat, and an economic threat. And so their question is, how do we get rid of him? We've got to put him on a Roman execution stake, known as a cross. Then after verses 1 and 2, you get verses 3 through 9. Right after verses 3 through 9, we're not going to read it, but right after that, we see that the religious and political leaders of the day were quite successful in their planning. But surrounded by all this, right in the middle, is this beautiful story, and I want you all to hear it. It goes like this. While he, Jesus, was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of nard, and hold on to this sentence, and she broke open the jar and poured the ointment on his head. But some were there who said to one another in anger, the disciples, by the way, the ones closest to him, why was this ointment wasted in this way? For this ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii and the money given to the poor. And they scolded her. But Jesus said, leave her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a good service for me. For you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for its burial. Truly I tell you, wherever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her. And listen, two things stand out in this story. Actually, more than two things, but for purposes here tonight, two things stand out in this story. And the first is this. Jesus' disciples, the ones who were closest to him, the ones on the inside, they were the ones who completely missed it. And there's a word there for some of you. You can be a good religious insider. You can be raised in the church. You can go to church every single week. You can memorize the scriptures backwards and forwards, and yet you can still completely miss what God is doing right in front of you. The second thing that stands out is this. right in the middle of all this brokenness. And think about it, it's a story surrounded by brokenness. It's a story surrounded by death. Right in the middle of all this, Jesus points to this saving, the saving selfless act done by this woman. Beauty in this story is literally found in the brokenness. Think about it, remember? The ointment that was in the jar, breaking it open to get to the beauty that was inside. Beauty is literally found in the brokenness, and these are like burial spices that you would use to prepare a body. Costly ointment, beauty being found in the brokenness. The story is surrounded by the plot to kill Jesus. Then death actually happens. And what does Jesus point to in the middle? He points to this woman. He doesn't make it about himself and say, do y'all see what's happening here? I'm getting ready to die and y'all are arguing about this? No, he points to this woman, and I could see Jesus shouting at this point to his disciples, to everyone in the crowd, your life may be filled with brokenness. You are going to experience hard times. Some of y'all are there right now. Some of you all are going to experience some incredibly hard things in the world, some true brokenness, and I promise you, the way to God, the way to real life is through serving others. This is the way to God, to get out of yourself. And it's like Jesus is saying, I promise you, this is how you want to live. It's like Jesus says, be like her. This woman got it. Don't miss what God is doing right in front of you. Don't miss the relationships that are right in front of you. Even in the midst of brokenness and hard things, be like her because she's the one who got it. Who are your role models when it comes to selfless living? And I know some of y'all need tools. I think most of us need tools. We need practices. I want to encourage you to, as we travel through this series over the next few weeks, get in the habit of reviewing your life. Get in the habit of taking inventory of your life. Get in the habit of doing some self-reflection. Get in the habit of looking at your life and doing some real self-examination. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 86, it suggests that we do this, and I find it incredibly helpful. See if you find it helpful. It makes this suggestion. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward some? See if y'all are paying attention. It doesn't say some, it says all. Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Man, are these not good questions? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others? Of what we could pack into the stream of life. But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. Again, that's page 86 in the Big Book. I encourage you to check it out later. Reread that paragraph. We don't hold on to those things. Of course we make mistakes, don't we? Every day we make mistakes. But we don't hold on to that. That creates shame. What do? The act of forgiveness. Remember what forgiveness is? It's that Greek word, aphiemi, and it means to release. We let that stuff go. And then in this process of bringing God in, we see if there's any corrective measures we need to take so we don't continue patterns of bad and harmful behavior. So tonight, y'all, I encourage you to begin asking that question. Make it your prayer. Because I think that's what Jesus is asking. It's what's being highlighted in that story. It's what's being highlighted in that Big Book paragraph that I just read. What kind of life do you want to live? I think it's one of the most important questions you can ask of yourself. What kind of life do you want to live? Maybe another way of asking that question is, when you're gone, when you die, at your funeral, what do you think people are going to say about you? Not just about you, but what are they going to say about how you lived in the world? And I get it, this question is a bit closer to my heart these days because it was just on last Saturday night. By the way, after we lifted my gran in prayer here, do you know, it was just about 5 minutes after we did that, she took her final breaths. That was last Saturday night. And so my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, Shiloh, and I, we flew to St. Louis, and I had the great honor of doing her funeral on Thursday afternoon. So it's a question that's close to me. What kind of life do you want to live? You know, as I was, this was in Missouri, so they still have some traditions that we don't have here in the West. There's a very traditional visitation with the body in the funeral home, and then after the visitation, the funeral, open casket. And during the visitation, there was a woman there, and she was standing towards the back, and y'all know how it is when you're wearing the mask. You can't tell if you really know this person or not. Have I seen you before? And I couldn't tell. She looked vaguely familiar to me, and so I just thought, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to walk to the back and introduce myself. And I introduced myself, and she introduced herself, and with tears in her eyes, I kid you not, she said, "I've been 33 years sober because of your gran." And I said, oh my goodness. I said, could you tell me that story? I said, I know my gran. I know she was sober. I know she died sober. I know she was in recovery, but I haven't heard many of the stories. Would you share that story with me? And she said, I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say. And I said, please tell me. I'm one of you. I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 8 years. I would love to hear this story. And she began to cry, and she said, your gran was my meeting buddy. Your gran, 33 years ago, picked me up and would bring me to this meeting. She remembered the exact name of the meeting, where this meeting took place, and she remembered who participated in this meeting. And I could tell she was hesitant to say more, but then she told me the story of my gran's relapse. I hadn't heard that story. And I'm glad she told me, because she said in her relapse, she also got back on the wagon, and she demonstrated for all of us what it was like to have humility in getting back on, and it made her even stronger. And y'all, I'm hearing the story about Gran getting ready to do her funeral, and I said, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I mean, what a tender God moment that was for me on that day, on that afternoon. And it reminded me, even in your brokenness, even in your relapse, even when life is falling apart, even when it seems like everything in your life is falling apart, you can still give back to others. You can still pour into others to give them life. Pour life into the lives of others, even in your brokenness. Because what do we say? To keep the gift, you must. You get to give it away. What kind of life do you want to live? What will people say about you when you're gone? Who are your role models when it comes to selfless living? So I want you to take a moment and reflect. We're going to throw some questions on the screen. I invite you to just take 60 seconds and reflect on these questions. I invite you to drop some comments in. Drop some comments in. Let the community in on your role models. Who are those people for you? How do you get through? And listen, as we do each week here, if you're one of the ones here in this community, and I know you're out there, if you're barely hanging on and you say, man, I need to connect with someone, but I don't want to do it publicly, you can just shoot an email. It'll be on the screen, and someone will connect with you tonight. Someone will connect with you. These aren't experts. These aren't geniuses. They're just people who have been through some stuff like you've been through, like you're going through. So send the message and someone will connect with you tonight. They're not going to wait till tomorrow. They're going to do it tonight. I'm glad y'all are here. Take a moment, reflect. All right, welcome back, guys. I hope you were able to take a moment and reflect. And I hope it's not just 60 seconds for you, because seriously, I mean it when I say this. It is, I believe it's the most important question we can ask of our lives. What kind of life do you want to live? All right, y'all, I want to introduce you to our guest storyteller. Her name is Noelle. Noelle and Joshua have been coming to Free, have been a part of this community for, I don't know, the last, 6 months? I don't know, last few months they've been coming around here. And Noelle has such a fascinating story. It truly is the story of moving from selfishness to selflessness. Is that a word? That's a word, right? Selflessness, yeah. That's kind of her story. I said, if you read the email, by the way, if you didn't get our email, you don't want to, if you didn't get our email, you're not on the email list, but you want to get our emails, drop us your email, we'll get you on the list. But I put it in a Facebook and Instagram post too, that she was one of the 30 under 30 to watch for engineering in the Denver Business Journal. And her career was skyrocketing, but so was her alcoholism. And she's going to share with us some of that story and what her life looks like today, living a life of selflessness. So I want you all to help me welcome Noelle. Right there for now. All right, Noelle, thank you for being with us tonight. And thank you, I have to publicly thank you. I know I told you this. The week was a little crazy for me, and we kind of switched around schedules, and you were able to come in and we were able to talk, but it was before we had real clarity. But she was so gracious and so easy to talk to, and when she was sharing parts of her story that I didn't know about, it was like, dang, this is like perfect for tonight. So welcome, I'm glad you're here. And let's start with, you were explaining to me kind of the 3 phases. The Noelle, the drunk Noelle, yeah. Then the Noelle that was without the drink but still had all the interior problems, that she thought it was just about the drink and getting rid of the drink. Yeah. And now the Noelle of not only getting rid of the drink but having a relationship with God and dealing with the interiors. That's the story I want people to hear.
Right, okay. So at 27 years old, I was nominated for, I'm an engineer. I design electric lines and do a lot of CDOT projects. I work for an engineering firm, and so I do a lot of highway expansion projects. So I was nominated for the Denver Business Journal's top 30 under 30 for engineering. And it was a big deal working for an engineering firm. You know, my CEO, everyone at my company who, it was a great marketing tool for them. So they bought a table, and it was this big banquet at the Denver Coliseum. And I'm going up to accept this award, and it was really a great night, except for I had an ankle monitor on my ankle, and I couldn't wear a skirt, I couldn't wear slacks without you seeing this ankle monitor on. So I had it duct taped up my leg, and so I'm walking up to accept this award, and I start to hear the duct tape crinkle. And at 27 years old, I was doing so well professionally, but I had just collected my 3rd DUI. And so that night, after that award ceremony, we went to this steakhouse. I had to get special permission to stay out past my curfew, and because I went back to Arapahoe County Jail and slept in jail that night. So that's really just the paradox of what my drinking looked like. I mean, it was just the definition of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I was going to bring that up. You brought that up last week when you were sharing with me that you were the true Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde,
Truly.
Of someone who was able to have these prestigious awards, hold it all together kind of on the outside, but you're also showing up with an ankle monitor hoping the duct tape doesn't break away from your leg. And then going back to sleep in a jail cell, in Arapahoe County Jail.
Yeah.
Describe for people what that was like just the paradox of that, what was happening inside.
You know, the state of Colorado knew that I needed to sober up long before I did, and I just, I didn't think I needed to quit drinking. I just thought I needed to quit getting arrested. And so even after that period of time of being in Arapahoe County Jail, and I did a great job throughout. My first DUI was when I was 19, and then 24 and 27. And so I did a great job of having different groups of friends, or doing so well professionally and with the amount of money that I was making that my parents never needed to come bail me out of jail. They never knew the gravity of the situation. And so I did so much work covering it up, padding stories, making the highlight reel look so great that no one knew A to Z in its entirety. I thought that I was protecting everyone from what was my disaster, but really I was protecting my alcoholism during this time.
Yeah. So for those of you that are watching right now, or for those of you that are here, and some of y'all know exactly what she's talking about, the feeling of being completely exhausted by covering it up. Have you ever been there? Some of you have been there. The exhaustion that comes with that. I want you to hear the rest of her story, because you don't have to live that way anymore. There is a better way, and there's a way out of this chaos. Tell us what happened kind of in the midst of that.
So the months in jail, the work release, none of that stopped me or slowed me down from drinking. I was released from work release and kept on for about 8 months after that. It was December 2017 that I was released from jail, and then no one knew in my engineering firm, and I kept drinking like nothing had happened. And then in August of 2018, pure self-will, I just decided to quit drinking one day. Like, I'd come up with this great idea out of pure stubbornness. And I didn't burn any bridges. I didn't really tell anyone that I wasn't drinking, but I would just avoid happy hours and avoid situations. And the weirdest thing happened. I was just as isolated and just as desperate and just as miserable as I was drinking. And I couldn't wrap my head around Noelle with alcohol was so miserable, and Noelle without alcohol was so miserable. And I just thought I was destined to be this miserable, isolated, depressed, anxious person. And so I lived like that for about 10 and a half months until June 23rd. It was a Sunday in 2019. And I went out for one day. It was a one-day relapse. And I just went out, and nothing crazy was happening in my life. I just went out and had bottomless samosas with an old friend. And that next morning I woke up and I went to work, and man, I could switch it on and off. Like, it was just wild all weekend. And then by Monday morning at 7 a.m., I was ready to go and ready to work. And it was truly two separate lives. Yeah. And so I went to work that day, and I remember calling my mom. I went in a conference room, and I wasn't hungover, but that anxiety, just like that just desperate feeling of like, I can't do it with alcohol. I can't do it without alcohol. I can't do this. And I called her and I was like, do you think I have a problem with drinking? Now, this is a woman who has no idea that I have 3 DUIs. She has no idea what's going on. She just sees, the highlight reel. And she's like, maybe it's something for you to explore, but maybe check it out. And I went back to my desk and I Googled the nearest AA meeting. And there was a noon meeting, and it was 10:45 at that time, and it was about 10 minutes away. And I knew I could get there. And really, I was just looking to like check off a box of what's another thing that I can say didn't work for me that I can try and do. And so I went to this noon meeting, and I walked in, and I didn't know that people know when you're brand new. And I had no idea. I thought I was being real slick. Oh, absolutely. It'd be real slick, like sitting by the wall, and no one would know I was brand new, or that look of desperation on my face. And the man chairing the meeting handed me how it works, and it was in this laminated piece of paper, and he said, I want you to read this today. And my hand was shaking, like that laminate was just shaking back and forth that entire time I was reading it. And as I'm reading those steps of powerlessness and just those steps 1 through 12, I'd never heard it before. I never walked into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I started to get tears, but I was like, God, I got to get out of this place. I never want to come back. This is awful. And this woman stopped me. And she just looked at me and she said, you look like you need a sponsor. I must have looked like I got hit by a bus. And I said, what's a sponsor? And she's like, this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to drink tonight, and I want you to come back tomorrow, and we're gonna meet after the meeting tomorrow. And I don't know why, but I did it, and I listened to her. And I came back the next day, and we sat down and started reading the book. And that was 19 months ago. And I never went out again after that day on June 24th. So being this I played college basketball, and being this engineer and this has-been collegiate athlete, walking into the room of Alcoholics Anonymous that day, I thought it was a no drinking contest. So I was furious that I had just given up this 10.5 months where everyone's talking about how much time they have, and I'm back at day one, having no idea that sobriety is about the quality and not the quantity. And it took me a long time to get over that. And what I realized is, I had these 3 periods, what I thought was like this awful time of, man, if I just didn't go out that one day, I'd have a year by now. This would be great. But it was the greatest gift I could have given myself, because I have this period of time of Noel with alcohol, and it's a mess. I mean, I can do some serious damage, and I did. Yep. And then I have this period of time with Noel just without alcohol. And she's just as selfish, just as dishonest, and just as miserable. And then I have this third version of Noelle, and she's working a program, and she has a conscious a connection with God, and she works with others, and she shows up when she says she's gonna show up. And so I can reference back to these 3 times. So not only do I have no reservations about Noelle drinking, but I have no reservations about Noelle not drinking and not maintaining a relationship with God.
Yeah, the way my sponsor said it to me early on was, because I think so many of us trying to get clean and sober, we think, man, if I can just get rid of the drink or just get rid of the drug, then life's going to be good.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know what, things do get a little better. In my experience, at least, relationships started to get a little better. But, and the world around me started to get better. Ryan started to get a little bit better. But there was still this huge part missing, and the way my sponsor described it to me was, good, now you got the thing out of the way that has been keeping you from the spiritual path. Now we're going to walk down this path together. And when he said it, it didn't make sense at the time, but it makes all kinds of sense now, that what you're talking about is, it's not just getting rid of the product. Then there's some connection to be made, and there's some work to be done.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us, just in closing, what did it look like for you? What does it look like for Noelle to enter into the selflessness?
So I think it's a 2-part thing. Like, there's a part that I play in it, but there's also a part that God plays in it. And my part is really, it's really hard to be selfless and selfish at the same time. Yeah. So if I'm combating those character defects, whether it's dishonesty or selfishness, like, this program has taught me that being selfish is taking the last piece of cake, and being self-centered is feeling like I deserve it. And so when I recognize those behaviors in my daily life.
Can you say that again? Some of y'all might want to tweet this one out.
Selfishness is taking that last piece of cake, and then self-centeredness is feeling like you deserve it. And so when those behaviors crop up in my life, when I start to feel like I deserve these certain things, whether I'm being dishonest, self-seeking, if I combat that with the opposite behavior, like, instead of taking that last piece of cake, I start baking cakes for other people and being of service to others, and really get it out of myself. And then there's that second component that I really have to humbly ask God to remove those character defects of mine. And whether it's that selfish behavior, but for me, prayer was a hard thing for me. I didn't understand what that was going to do for me, or what that meant. And I thought it was this very transactional thing, like you were talking about earlier, with God being our errand boy. Like, what can I gain from praying daily? And what I've learned is, it's not so much what I can gain from God from praying daily, but it's what I lose every day. And what I lose is those resentments, that anger, that anxiety, that depression. And so ultimately, in the loss, there's a gain there. And I don't know why that works, why praying for God to remove these defects, and why me getting out of self with the opposite behavior works. Asking why isn't a spiritual principle. I just need to do the footwork and stay out of the results business. And I have 100% success rate with having God turning over my defects to Him, asking them to remove them. And it's not an immediate thing. Sometimes I carry those for a while for whatever lesson I need those, but it always reveals itself. And it's not because I figure it out by myself, but it's because God reveals them. And so it's a 2-part thing, combating that selfish self-centeredness.
Oh my goodness, so good, Noelle. Here's the deal, y'all. If you have questions or comments for Noelle, put them in the comments. She will be engaging with you. You're going to stick around here tonight. Thank you for being here. I want you to take, Danny, are we on this camera? That one? Yep. So would you take, oh, sorry,
Okay.
this one. We're just making sure you're still paying attention here.
I'm awake.
In 30 seconds, and sorry, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but I think it's an important one.
Okay.
For those that are really struggling, for those who are in your boat of they're trying to do exactly what you did, hide it all, live these two lives. I can hold on to this and still hold on to this, and they can't put down the bottle or they can't put down the drug, whatever it is. What do you say to them? Just what's the word of hope?
Man, just show up for yourself, just go to that meeting or ask for help. It's not that we go through, for me, working a 12-step recovery program, it's not that we go through these steps and suddenly we're a better person, but through that inventory process that you were talking about earlier, identifying some of these behaviors and what our part in it is and asking God to remove them, we're just chipping away at more of God, who God wants us to be. And that's really the process of the 12 steps and getting to that other side of that and being service to others. So just give yourself the opportunity to make yourself of more of who God wants you to be. And I just wasn't doing that in that middle phase of just removing the alcohol, and I had no idea that sobriety is not an anchor. It's just giving you wings. And I had no idea with just removing alcohol.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight,
Thanks
Noelle.
for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good stuff. You can stick around for one moment. Hey, Josh, by the way, if you're watching tonight, so glad you're with us. So glad you're part of this community. Noelle, I'm so glad you're part of this community too. I love it when y'all come and hang out and just be part of things here at Free. So good to have you here. We are going to move into our time of heartaches because it's how we end in this community. You know what? We carry these burdens together. We lift these burdens up, and we believe that God always hears the cries of the people. So we want to close things with giving you all the opportunity to get vulnerable and real and honest and raw in this community. Give us your burdens, give us your heartaches, because we want to be praying with you and lifting you up throughout the week and touching base with you throughout the week. So I encourage you, just like you did with celebrations, put them in the comments. Get vulnerable. Ain't nothing creepy about it. We do this life together. We do these burdens together. So take a couple of minutes, 3 minutes to be exact, and put your heartaches in. Again, so glad you were with us tonight, Noelle. Thanks for being part of this community. And take 3 minutes, then we're going to come back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's lift up some heartaches from you all. Tam, you want to start?
I will.
Tammy's going to start.
Hey, Tani, miss you here tonight. She says, really struggling in life right now. Prayers would be appreciated. Yeah, new mama, and we're praying for you, T.
Prayers for you, Tani. Cindy says, prayers for what should be a simple surgery this week. All right, Cindy, thank you for letting us in on that. Prayers for you this week for that seemingly simple surgery. Hope that goes well. Prayers for you. Thank you for lifting that up.
From Nelms, asking for prayers for my brother, Erwin, as he awaits cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, that's that's
From Jim,
Jim, right?
yeah.
Thank
Took
you.
me a minute,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, Nelms Hospitality. Thank you, Jim, for lifting that up. Prayers for you, brother. Prayers for your brother. Lifting them in prayer.
You get this one.
Ah, Lance Willoughby. Lance says, please lift up my great, great friend Dale. COVID complications and his recovery from leukemia. He was given last rites this afternoon. Tender moment, sacred moment. Prayers for him and his wife, Darian. Fantastic, faithful people. He was selfless and will be sorely missed. Lance, prayers for you too, going through this grief, and for the whole family and Dale, lifting them up. Thank you for sharing that with this community.
Yeah, love you, Lance. From Roy, I'm having to take my mom back to Florida after having her with me for 3 months. Please continue to pray, not only for her health, but that God will make it possible for her to move in with me.
All
I'll
right.
be praying for you, Roy.
Prayers for that, Roy. Thank you for lifting it up. Should we do one more? Let's do one more. One more, then we're closing the whole thing down. So dramatic. Ricky says, my sister and I got into a huge argument today. Vicious words were said to me and bridges probably burned. I cannot let this affect my recovery, though. I must stay strong for my family and myself. Thank you for letting me share. Ricky, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for sharing that. Hopefully 86, man. Read page 86. And if you need to reach out to someone, I hope you do so soon. And thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Glad you're here. Thanks for being part of this community. Y'all can keep those coming in tonight, by the way. Thank you for being with me, Tammy.
I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, I'll do that. You can keep the prayer requests, the heartaches, the burdens coming in. We will lift those up all week long. And just a reminder, we do this work together in recovery in this community of breaking the silence of addiction. And the wagon, which is right to my left here, it is the central image in this community. It represents us doing life together. If you fall off the wagon in this community, you need to know. If you're new with us tonight, you need to know this. We do not do shame. We don't believe in shame because we know in our lives God didn't do shame with us, so we do not do shame here. It's a central image. On this wagon, we have a donation box. In fact, here throughout Free, we have a couple of donation boxes. And truly, y'all, it is your generous giving that keeps the mission thriving forward. It allows us to do what we do here. God's Spirit, I'm telling you, is moving in this place through hope. I hope you feel it here. I feel it here. And your giving helps us do what we do. It helps keep the mission moving forward of breaking the silence of addiction. So I want to let you know there are 3 ways to give in this community. If you are virtual, you can go to the App Store and download the free app, Free Spiritual Community. And you can give there monthly, weekly, bi-monthly, however you want to do it. It's safe and secure. Or go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, or you can text the number on your screen. Text Be the Wagon, and it'll send you back a simple set of instructions. Your generous giving sustains the mission here. So thank you. No donation is too small. No donation is too big. We accept it all here. And truly, we're grateful. We realize that for many of you, this is a spiritual practice. You give in a way that is sacrificial, and seriously, you need to know we're grateful for that. We are so, so grateful. So thank you for being part of this community. And we will go out with a prayer. And I think this evening, we're going to go out with the Serenity Prayer. How's that? So what I encourage you all to do is just open your hands. Find some stillness in your mind, in your heart. Open your hands. It's a symbol of inviting God in. And if you don't know the words to the Serenity Prayer, it's on your screen. And it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you engage the question, not just once, but over and over and over again, what kind of life do you want to live? And in asking that question, may you experience all kinds of grace and peace along the way. So good to be with you tonight. We'll see you next time.